Hello, this is Paul McKenna. It's 11:54 p.m. here in Tokyo, Hachioji, which is in the Tokyo Metropolis. I'm at home. I experienced the earthquake today, which hit around about 2:30. I was in teaching in my school and had a small class in, and it started shaking a little bit, and we thought it's an earthquake, but there's lots of earthquakes here, and most of them are kind of small. But it kind of continued and got stronger, and then we were kind of going, "What do you do?" And one thing I knew, you get under the table, so I started getting under the table. We all started getting under the table, and then another one of my colleagues, Muhammad, was there. Come on, let's get out, get out, get out. So it was starting to shake quite violently. We were on the sixth floor, and the building is kind of old for Japan. That was sometime in the early 80s. They kind of go through, buildings have a kind of a short lifespan in Japan. So we just got out. I kind of waited for him to get out and went down. But not everyone had actually got out. Our manager stayed in. We were going down the stairs. We have another school on the fourth floor. So one of my colleagues coming out, he was kind of very, how shall we say, agitated. Going, get out, get out, get out, get out. Go, run, 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 run. The stairs were shaking. The ground was shaking under our feet. It was shaking quite violently. Enough to make you very conscious of not tripping, but I didn't really, nobody fell, but it definitely kind of focused the mind, shall we say. There was a woman came out who's kind of not quite blind, but very, very bad eyesight, and someone was helping her. I let her go ahead, and then there was another guy with a stick behind me, so I kind of stayed in between them, running down trying to move as quickly as we could down the stairs. It's shaking all the time. I could see it was a kind of an outside stairs. I could see other buildings, high buildings around me, the lightning conductors at the top kind of shaking fairly violently. I can't say I was terrified, but it's kind of a weird, exhilarated focus. I kind of felt like we just have to get out. So we did. And we got out to the ground floor, and there was just people pouring out from all the buildings, and there was one girl on the kind of squatting down on the floor on the road, kind of she looked very nervous and tense, and the kind of older people tend to look upset and scared and anxious, and so after a few minutes, we were just standing around talking, kind of, and after a few minutes, we decided to go in again. I had a class with one student this time, and I was kind of joking, like we continued through, and I was shaking the board and writing with a shaky pen on the board, and just thinking how funny that would be to just continue the lesson while catastrophe poured around us. And it started shaking again, and it started getting a bit more violent. It wasn't as violent as the last time, but we said, okay, let's get out. So ran out again. But I think by the time we'd reached the bottom of the stairs, the shaking had stopped. So we stayed out then for a good, I don't know, 10 or 15 minutes, and eventually decided to go back in. And there was kind of shocks. I couldn't tell you how many, but there was shocks all along after that. And kind of only one student turned up after that. It seemed all the trains were down. We were getting news. The radio was on. I was on the internet, just posted on Facebook and sent some emails just in case anyone heard the news, just saying I was okay. I hadn't got through to my wife Mika or heard about my daughter Luca yet. The phone lines were down, which is kind of standard in Japan. I think they kind of close. As far as I know, it's a kind of a policy to close the airways so that they're freed up for the emergency services. I was chatting to a friend, Karina, on Facebook. She said she was in a school gym. She's in either Niigata or Nagano, which is a little bit further away and further inland. She said she was in the school gymnasium, and there must have been some kind of meeting or assembly or something, and the shake had started, and there was scattering and screaming and all the rest. It all sounded very dramatic. I was getting dribs and drabs of news on the internet. We heard something about like the tsunami and waves just moving buildings and cars floating down streets, and it was all a bit unbelievable. Uh, YouTube in work doesn't they don't have the the player to play the videos, so but I was just reading the kind of the descriptions underneath the videos, and it was all seemed a bit surreal. Um, we kind of stayed in work. There was just three teachers and the manager and another student. The student I was teaching at the time of the second quake that kind of made us leave the building at the second time, and we just kind of stayed in for the day. Eventually, I got through to my wife Mika. Luca, it seemed, was okay. She was out in the park with her grandfather, and she was on a swing at the time, so she didn't notice. But the grandfather noticed the cherry trees shaking madly. Uh, they were all okay anyway. Everyone's okay. Everyone I know is okay. Uh, Around 7 o'clock, we were kind of, what are we all going to do? I mean, I'm kind of within 40 minutes walking distance of where I work, so I was fine. I invited everyone back to my place if they wanted to. The student was going to pick up her grandmother somewhere and leave another teacher home. There was another teacher who was really stranded, but he kind of felt uncomfortable coming back to my place. My wife has a flu, but everything was going to be fine. Um, he said he'd find a way. Walking home, I noticed there was huge queues for the bus. The traffic was really, really heavy. I think anyone driving or trying to make their way home would have really taken a long time. All the trains were down in Tokyo and are going to be down probably for the rest of the night. Coming home, just pictures on the news were unbelievable. The tsunami inundating the land, just sweeping across, carrying cars and trucks and buildings and bits of debris and wood and the whole thing. And the initial reports of the death toll are pretty low, but they're going to get much bigger. Just looking at the pictures, it's just a case of information coming through slowly. It's unfortunately it's going to be much bigger. Another slightly worrying thing is there was a nuclear reactor in Fukushima Prefecture, uh, and I don't really understand this, but well, what I mean, I imagine when there's when there's nuclear fusion going on and it's being shaken violently, this can uh, make things rather dangerous. And it heated up. There was a 3 kilometer complete evacuation warning, and people beyond that 10 kilometer radius were had something else. There have been repeated, uh, rather dramatic announcements on the TV about tsunami warnings. The tsunamis are expected to come. They're supposed to go on for a day. It's not really clear to me whether they keep coming in lower intensity. But tomorrow we're due some kind of a spring tide. So with the effect of the tsunami, that again could be more devastation. Where we are in Hachioji, which is in the kind of northwestern extreme of the Tokyo metropolis, we're pretty safe. We're completely safe from the tsunami, and I just thought I'd make this report to anyone who knows me to just tell you what it was like, and to tell you I'm okay. And I don't know. I suppose I wish. I hope everyone in Japan is safe tonight. Another thing, maybe I should mention, it's interesting, is that many, I'd say most of the schools, high schools and junior high schools and what do they call them? the level below that, whatever they call it in Japan. They're kind of open now and they're taking in people. People are really stranded, like people who are stuck in Tokyo. There's no trains. The buses are packed. The traffic is crawling. Uh, People are really stranded. If people are more than a couple of hours walk away from home, they're going to have to spend the night in some crowded gym with strangers wrapped in whatever they can. It's going to be a rough night for them. Uh, Probably a memorable experience. Uh, that's all I have to say for now. Goodbye. Be safe, Japan.